this towel, I have a symbol of lost Americana. I want to talk today about what I think is a dying art. I want to take you back in time to, say, the turn of the last century, thereabouts, when I think a sizable proportion of this nation's womenfolk had a tradition of getting up probably before it was even light out. And, I imagine in amongst a number of other onerous chores that women were largely forced to do throughout history, American women in particular had a tradition of making something special for breakfast for their loved ones, for the men and children in their lives. And it's something that really we don't make very much anymore, I don't think. It takes a little bit of time, and getting up early enough to do it during the week, I think, is beyond most of us working people. But we can make it on the weekends, and we can use modern technology to extend the life of our product to allow us to enjoy it all throughout the week. So you're probably wondering what the hell I'm talking about. And what I'm talking about is the humble biscuit. You're probably more familiar with biscuits from, say, Popeyes or KFC than you are with the homemade variety. Take my word for it, the homemade variety is far superior. These came out quite nicely, I think. It's really not that hard, especially if you have a food processor. And like I say, we can use technology to extend the life of these biscuits, which naturally don't have much of a shelf life. They're best if they're eaten right away, but we can freeze them. And I'll show you how to do that. I'll show you how to make these biscuits, and we'll talk a little bit about how to enjoy them. But they are delicious. They're way better than Popeyes or any of those other companies' biscuits, and they're really not that hard. And I hope it's something that you can add to your repertoire. Cook up a batch on a Saturday morning like I have here. It's a lovely Saturday morning in Chicago here at 73 degrees Fahrenheit, sunny, and I'm planning on going for a bike ride today, and what better way to get some energy in my system and power myself for the rest of the day than a couple of nice biscuits for breakfast and maybe some eggs. So without further ado, I think we're going to I would do the cool wibbly-wobbly, going into the past effect, but I don't think I have that on my editing software. So I do think I have a clock wipe, so hopefully we can clock wipe on out of here and go back about half an hour in the past here and see how I made this bowl full of deliciousness. Let's go. All right, guys, we're in the near-distant past, for me at least, and we are about to get these biscuits going. The first order of business is to heat our oven to 450, so we'll do that. Get that rolling. And make sure that our oven rack is on the middle rack, which it was not. All right, now it is. Next order of business, we're going to be using the food processor to make these biscuits, and I'll probably shoot what I'm doing in the food processor on my phone. So why don't we get the phone rolling here? Alright, the phone is rolling. So we need 2 cups of flour. Let's get out our measuring cups. You want a nice flat measuring cup to measure dry ingredients. Make sure you use a dry ingredient cup because dry cups are shaped differently to hold the right amount of dry ingredient. Wet cups are designed for liquids, which have a meniscus, which can be misleading as to the actual level of the liquid. So 2 cups of flour is just going to go, why don't I, yeah, all right. 2 cups of flour into our bowl. There's one, we'll get a second. So when you're measuring flour, you want to get a nice scoop, and then you want to use a scraper or something to level it off. I didn't get quite enough there. Let's get a little more. This is the leveling off I'm talking about. Why don't I move this here and show you? There we go, just like that. Okay, let's blow off our phone, and second cup of flour goes into our Cuisinart food processor. All right, then we need a tablespoon of sugar. Let's get our measuring spoon of sugar. Tablespoon of sugar also goes in the Cuisinart. Okay. 3 teaspoons of baking powder. Baking powder, of course, as we talked about in the intro, is the magic ingredient here that makes the biscuit a biscuit. 3 teaspoons into, of course, our Cuisinart. So again, this is another one where you want to measure. And most baking soda or baking powder cans have this little lip on them to help you level it off just right. So that's 1 teaspoon. 2 teaspoons. 3 teaspoons. Shake that all off in there. Good, looking good. Now what? You need a teaspoon of salt. Let's measure that out over here. Teaspoon of salt. Okay. And finally, we're going to need a 1/2 cup of butter, which we want to cut up into bits. But first, all right, let's get this all cleaned up. It's good to try and straighten up as you go as much as you can. Keep yourself sane. Makes life easier. All right. Next order of business is to put the, just give this a quick spin. Our dry ingredients here, just to make sure they're nicely mixed up. Let's do that. I can have to figure out how to get this thing on. Grab the phone so you can get a shot of this here. All right, here we go. I'm just going to pulse it. See if I can get a good shot. Should be fine. All right, next order of business. So the key here, like butter and pastry, most of these kind of doughs, they really operate on the principle, I should put that away, they really operate on the principle of cold fat being broken up into little pieces and then kind of mixed into a dry or fairly dry dough. And what that causes is the little bits of butter will kind of get flattened out, and it gives you that light flaky texture when they melt and the water evaporates in the oven. It helps to give the item lift, lightness, and just that flaky texture that we all love so much in pie crusts and biscuits, which are really very similar doughs. So this butter is frozen hard, as you can probably tell. I'm going to cut it up into some, I don't know, 5 or 6 pieces. Just to make the life of the, life a little easier on the Cuisinart. A little hard to cut because it's frozen, but that's okay. Alright. So now we want to do what we call cutting in this fat. With the Cuisinart, that's super easy. I'm going to take the top off. The Cuisinart's going to do all the work for us. We're going to, can I do this? We're going to take this butter, just drop it in, the rest of the butter Drop that in as well. I'm going to put the top back on. And then we're going to pulse. You can see all those big chunks of butter in there. You're going to hear them. Whoa. Hard to do this one without making it so a little bit of mess and clean it up. So you really want to pulse this. It's hard to see, but the butter is getting chopped up into smaller and smaller bits. You can see the Cuisinarts are reacting less and less every time I pulse. It means those bits are getting smaller. And it's not melting because the butter's all frozen. So now if we look in there, you can see you can't even see the butter. It's cut into tiny little bits in there. That's exactly what we want. All right. So the next step then is that we add 3/4 of a cup of milk, which I are cooling in the fridge here. Okay, 3/4 of a cup of milk. We're just going to dump that in. Here we go. Let's take the top off. And add our milk in here. We're just going to pour it around. Hard to shoot this and cook at the same time. I'm learning how to make this show as we go here. Okay. And then we want to pulse that. And as you can see, it's kind of coming together. I think you can see that. I can see it. Eventually, you kind of hold this button here and let it go. And that's about what we want. It's kind of formed a mass. It's not very tight in there. You can see it's still very crumbly, but it's pulled away from the sides of the bowl pretty well. You can see over here it's pretty clean, and that's what we're looking for. So now comes our kneading. We're going to take this bowl over to the cutting board. We're going to flour the cutting board, and we're going to give this a quick knead. That's pretty easy. All right. Get rid of this. Okay, we're going to want a board scraper. We're going to want our phone away from all this flour that we're about to perpetrate. I shouldn't have put the flour all the way away because I still need it. It's all right. And here we go. Okay, so we just want to sprinkle a little flour on our board like this. You don't want, a ton of flour because it's messy and it can dry out your dough, but you need enough so that your dough does not stick to your board. So we're just going to smooth that over like so. Looks pretty good. All right. And then we're going to take our whole bowl off of our Cuisinart. If we turn it the right way. No, which way does it go? Oh, maybe it doesn't come off. And the top's on. See, all these safety measures they've added to the Cuisinart have made it a lot worse than the old one from the 80s. There's just no doubt in my mind about that. All right, so here's our dough. We are going to get this all together into one nice big mass. And we're just going to knead it like 10 times or so. It's just a light knead. You don't want to overwork this dough. If you overwork it, it will become, your biscuits will be tough. That's obviously, nobody likes a tough biscuit. All right, so to knead, all we're going to do is mush it down a little bit so it's flat. We're going to fold it towards us, and we're going to drive our heel in so it kind of gets mixed. We're going to turn it a quarter turn and do the same. Fold over, heel in, same. That was 2, 3, 4, 5. If you're a little short, I'm a little short. If you're shorter than me, certainly, you might want to get a little stool or something to stand on while you do this. You get better leverage the higher up you are. And I've got a pretty thick butcher board here, and raises my countertop height up a little to a little uncomfortable level. This is, I think, 7. Doesn't have to be exactly 10. 8. 9. 10. All right. So now we're going to put that aside. We're going to spread our flour back out here, and it's time to get rolling. I did not get my rolling pin out, so give me 1 second and I will get the rolling pin, and we'll be right back. Okay, so we've got our rolling pin set up here. I've got these rubber bands on here. I bought these. They're not that expensive. They make it a little easier. You don't need them. You can eyeball half an inch, half an inch is what we're going for. You can eyeball that if you don't want to spend the money on these. You could also flatten this out just with your hands. I think it would work fine. I think the rolling pin just makes it a little easier. So we're just going to roll this out. We're going to turn it over and a quarter turn every now and then so we get like kind of an even shape. And so that it doesn't stick too bad to the bowl, we're going to get some more flour in there, or to the board, just to make sure that it doesn't stick to the board. Our oven just came up to temperature, which is just about perfect timing, because we are almost done here. Now I can see this dough is a little elastic. If you're really having trouble rolling out your dough, it just needs to rest. And what you can do is just go, put it on the side, maybe put it in the fridge to keep that butter cold, although it's getting less and less important to keep the butter cold. It's about to get hot. 10 minutes or so, I think, is all it should take for that dough to rest, and it'll be much more pliable. It's a function of the gluten in the dough, in the flour, gets excited and tenses up. It's a protein. Proteins are kind of like little chemical springs in a way. When they get tight, and your dough won't want to roll out. All right, this is just about done. I didn't do a very good job of getting an even shape, which is not certainly the end of the world. But I can feel that I am about hitting my rubber bands here, so I think we are just about done. Let's try it one more time here. Feels good too. All right. There we go. That is about 1/4 inch thick. Perfect. All right. Excellent. Put the rolling pin to the side. We're not quite done with it yet. And we got to find our biscuit cutters, which I got right here. Okay, I'm going to look for the biscuit cutters. I'll be right back. Okay, that was a little annoying. I found my biscuit cutters. I'm going to use my middle biscuit cutter, which I think is a 2.5 inch. If I can get it out of here. You can really cut the biscuits as big as you want. This is the size that I'm using. I do think that's 2.5 inch. And, this is a pretty straightforward procedure here. You want to get it right up to the edge, but, you want to not have any ragged edges if you can avoid it. You just push down and turn. And it's important that you kind of push, kind of cleanly. You want a nice clean cut so that biscuit can rise well. You turn it to release it. The scraps we will put together and roll into some more biscuits here when we're done cutting these out. There we go. Push and turn. You should prepare your cookie sheet that you're going to bake these on your baking sheet before you start doing this, so you can lay them out as you're cutting them, but this will work. Alright, these are coming along nicely. You want to try and get as many out of this first roll as you can. I think these will be your best biscuits by a bit. The next round that we roll out will probably be a little tougher and rise a little less than these. That's just the nature of the game. They'll still be good. But they will probably not be quite as lovely as the ones out of this first roll, just because the dough gets worked more, and that's really not good for the dough. All right, that looks like all I can get out of this batch. So we take our dough, we mush it back together. Okay, we want to work this as little as possible here. So we're just going to give that a quick knead together. Okay, I'm going to get my cookie sheet ready. We want some parchment paper to bake these on. So here is our cookie sheet, and I'm going to move the camera here real quick, I think, so that we can see what I'm doing, hopefully. All right, hopefully we can see here. Open this parchment paper. Looks like we got a new box working. All right. Parchment paper is paper that's been impregnated with silicone to make it non-stick. It's, ow, it's sharp. They make these put this stupid tape on here. It's always so hard to get off. All right. Okay. Thank you, Reynolds. All right. Nice sheet of parchment there. Strip of parchment, put it upside down from the way it rolls, and it'll stay flatter. Little tip. The tape won't come off, of course. Why does it need this piece of tape here? I don't understand. All right. All right, let's get these biscuits laid out on this paper. If you're having trouble with your paper rolling up, just get the first couple on there and use them as anchors. All right, there we go. They don't have to be too far apart because they don't really spread out. All right, we'll roll out the rest of this, move the camera, I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. I actually had to go put a Band-Aid on my thumb that I cut on that stupid parchment paper cutter, so I don't bleed all over the biscuits. All right, sorry for the distraction. So here's our leftover dough. Probably didn't hurt it having that little bit of time to rest anyway. So we do the same thing. We just roll this out to a quarter of an inch or a half an inch thickness again, using our bands as a guide, or your eyeballs as a guide if you haven't got the bands. Maybe fold over some of these weird edges in the hopes that we can get it a little straighter, a little easier to use up the rest of this in our biscuits. Okay, pull that edge over a bit. There, we got a nice little kind of square here. That looks pretty good to me. So let's cut out the last of our biscuits. We got 1, 2, 3. We got 4 decent ones there. We'll put those on our sheet. Move these together a little closer so we have room. I know you can't see what I'm doing here. I'll take a shot when I'm done. It's not that exciting. Take my word for it. All right, they're starting to stick to the board a little bit. Probably should have gotten a little more flour out there. All right, now we have this kind of last lump of dough here. Get a little more flour. All right, push this together, see if we can get maybe one more biscuit out of this. Get at least one more out of this. All right, 1 and almost 2. Okay, yeah, we got 2. All right, let's put those on our sheet. This this last little bit, I usually just push it together, kind of flatten it down with my hand, make an ugly biscuit. That's my biscuit. I'll eat that right when it comes out of the oven, nice and hot. That's the benefit of being the cook. All right, so that's an ugly little biscuit there. Let's get a shot of those. Use the phone. There. So you see they're pretty close together. They're certainly not very far apart from each other, and I'm not really worried about it. You want a little spacing between each one, but they're really not going to spread very much. So that's really it for making biscuits. All we got to do is bake them. As you can see, it's pretty darn easy. So let's open up the oven. Let's throw those in. There they go. Off to biscuit land, and we're going to cook those for 10 to 12 minutes or until golden brown. Of course. Bake. We'll put it for 10. Bake 450. And kitchen timer for 10. That's what I wanted. All right. Those are cooking. We'll be back when they're done. Okay. We're back. We're just about done here. The timer is just about to pop. It popped to 10 minutes. I didn't bother putting it on camera because it's not that exciting, because they weren't really done yet. They were still a little pale. You want them to be golden brown, just around the edges. They don't have to be totally brown. You'll see in a second here what I mean. Hopefully these are ready when this pops in about 10 seconds. You know, as you can see, there wasn't a whole lot of work here. The Cuisinart did most of the work for us, and we should have some delicious biscuits. There's the timer. Let's pop them out and see what we got. Let's grab the phone. You guys can see what's going on here. All right, so 450, 10 minutes. We're going to turn that off, and if you look in there, I don't know if you can see that, but they look about done. You could, if you want, you could leave these a bit longer. Let me pull them out and see if we can get a better shot. You can leave these a bit longer. Actually, these look pretty good. That's pretty much what you're looking for, is that kind of just toasty brownness around the edges, and you know, a little modeling of brown on the tops. You can see on the sides there, because we cut them nice, they kind of layered up and poofed up. That's exactly what you're looking for in a good biscuit. So I think we got a good batch here. This one here is the ugly one that I said was the cook's biscuit. So let's take that one and we'll try it. I'm going to pop that one off here, put it on a plate. Obviously that's not a very pretty biscuit. The rest of them are much better looking. Just to remind you, right? Those look nice. This one, not so nice, but they all taste equally delicious. You know, these biscuits, you can serve them a multitude of ways. I like to put a little, what do I like to do? I like to fry up some eggs over easy and put those on top. But they're also delicious with just a little butter. We're just going to put that on there and let it melt a little bit. And we'll try it. In the meantime, I'm going to get a bowl out here. And maybe a towel, dish towel, to make it nice and keep them warm. This is how I usually serve them if I have people over for this. Just put a little dish towel, clean dish towel of course, in your bowl, and pop your biscuits into the bowl. Just like so. There you go. Looks nice. And then you can, you know, just put the towel over them and keep them warm on the table, so that everybody has a nice fresh biscuit, nice fresh warm biscuit to eat when they are ready. All right, this butter is kind of melted. We probably didn't need all that butter. Let's take some of that off and let's give this a shot. We gotta try this recipe. It's so good and so, basically simple. So let's go to the wrap up. Okay guys, so I cleaned up a little bit. I just got a better shot of the biscuits here for you. And, like I said in the intro, people don't make biscuits anymore. People, think that like Popeyes or KFC has really great biscuits. They got nothing on a homemade biscuit. And especially if you have a Cuisinart, making biscuits is really pretty freaking easy. And something you should try. Now, you might be saying, well, hey, Steve, you're the Well-Fed Bachelor. That's a lot of biscuits. You going to sit there and eat all those? Because they're probably not going to keep. And you're right. They don't keep very well. Biscuits will go stale. They really have to be eaten almost hot out of the oven. Except there is a trick. And the trick is simple. It's that you freeze them. Freezing your biscuits will enable you to store them for at least a month. With really no degradation. You can, and then you can heat them in a toaster oven or even a slot toaster, and they come out, not quite as good as they were when they were fresh, but pretty damn close. And if you put eggs or something on them, you mix them with other things, you really can't tell the difference. So let's talk real quick about how to freeze biscuits and also how to reheat them. So to do this, you're going to take a pan and I've got a side-by-side fridge there. A full or a half sheet pan will not fit. So I use a quarter sheet pan or maybe even 2 quarter sheet pans. And I'm going to reuse the parchment paper that I cooked them on just because I'm cheap. And all you do here is put them, they can be really close together. They're not really going to freeze together, but you put them on the sheet here just to make sure. Whoops. And as you can see here, there's a little extra piece. As you can see here, I'm out of room, and when that happens, I grab another piece of parchment, another piece of parchment. Let's grab one real quick. Oh my God! All right, parchment paper. It's really been my nemesis today. All right. Here we go. And, just start another layer. Just like that. Okay, those, you want to let them cool on the fridge, cool on the countertop until they're cool to the touch. They're still a little warm. I just pulled them out. So I'll give them, half an hour, 45 minutes on the countertop. Then I'll pop them in the fridge to cool them down to, fridge temperature for another 45 minutes. And then into the freezer for a couple hours. We'll be back when they're frozen, and I'll show you how I put them away for longer term storage. Okay, let's clock wipe to that. Hey guys, all right, we're back. These are well frozen now. If we, you can knock them on the table. They're hard, and what we now want to do is grab a gallon Ziploc bag, which I should have grabbed already, but here we go. Gallon Ziploc bag. We're just going to throw them all in there, just like this. So they're hard, and we're going to just zip this up tight, squeeze out the air, zip it up tight, throw it in the freezer. They'll keep for months. And then when we're ready to warm them back up, we can warm them in a 400-degree oven. That's kind of, if you're doing a bunch, maybe that makes sense. If you're just doing 1 or 2 because you're by yourself, toaster, you can just put them in the toaster on a normal toast cycle, and they should warm right up. You may have to split them open and let them warm a little more once they've thawed out a little bit if they are, cold in the middle. Generally, I found just putting them on toast does a pretty good job. That's really biscuits, man. You should try it. It's easy. It's great to have a bag of these in the freezer. It makes any breakfast or dinner a little more special with a homemade bread product. That's all we got today. Thanks for watching.